So another thing which has received a lot more attention, which is great, is the seizure and centralisation of farmland. So obviously cases like the Dutch farmers where they had the problem with fertilisers, which the government mandated in the first place, which is ridiculous. But I'm not going to get into that because we've covered it to death at this point. But people like BlackRock are buying land. Bill Gates owns 250,000 acres of US land over 19 states. Jeff Bezos has amassed 420,000 acres. It's absurd the amount of land that the elite are buying up, which of course makes it harder and harder because they've got all of this demand for land for the ordinary people who aren't multi-billionaires to be able to compete to buy the same land.
I'd be interested to see what the total percentage of available farmland in America that takes up, that those two own between them.
It's a reasonable amount.
I would imagine so.
Mm-hmm. So not only is it a good investment because it's a limited resource which demand is only going to increase and can produce food which is going to increase in value too. So in the current market, farmland's actually a very good investment monetarily speaking because you beat inflation. There's always going to be a demand for it. In fact, the demand is going to increase both for the land and the produce of it. And it's an asset that's actually productive. It's not like, say, owning a property and you just leave it vacant. You want to rent it out because then it generates money and the asset goes up in value as well. Yeah, it's a similar sort of thing to that.
If you're a farmer, you can become self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
Even, depending on outside shocks, if you are able to, plough the land, grow your own vegetables, if you have a few animals like some pigs, so you've got pork available, cows for beef, then realistically you probably don't have to rely on anybody else.
There is that aspect too. And considering that the elite are all building bunkers underground, preparing for disasters, I think that buying up farmland is a pretty good indication that they're taking it pretty seriously. Obviously there is the investment factor as well, but having a steady supply of food to their underground bunker might be part of it, I imagine.
Mm. And just stealing up the available land that other people can use to become self-reliant is just a good thing for them.
What they could well do is set up a sort of feudal relationship where they own the land and then they lease it out to farmers to cultivate themselves. Then they get the rent money for the land, and maybe they could even say, okay, well, I'll also take a cut of your profits as well while I'm at it.
Yeah, we've got a quota for what we take from you.
Mm-hmm. So yes, in the case of a global collapse or a great reset, owning the land will become even more important, especially if you are able to keep hold of it. And that will put them in a ridiculously powerful position. It's no coincidence that owning lots of land in, say, medieval times was a good predictor of how important you were politically. So, yes, very clear what's going on here. Of course, people like Bill Gates also has his fingers in things like the vaccines, which he's made an inordinate amount of money advertising, and who knows what's going on there. I don't have enough time to talk about all the insidious vaccine stuff because, again, we've talked about this. And he also likes to reduce the birth rates. So that's a very Bill Gates thing, if you want an example of someone who wants to reduce birth rate.
He's got a number of books where he goes on about it at length. I need to suffer through and read them. What is it? How to avoid the next global, how to avoid a climate catastrophe, something like that, and how to avoid the next pandemic, both of which will include in their solutions a massive reduction of the population of the Earth.
Yes, it will.
How we get there? That's just up here for him.
And one thing which we always mention is that they want to control what we eat, because again, this is just controlling what resources we have access to, so the elites can have the luxuries of eating mammals while we eat bugs and eat human meat grown in a lab, which is being talked about. Just like, yes, well, it's not cannibalism if it's lab grown. Oh, it's morally fine. Oh, yes. Even though it's demeaning, gross. I mean, there are so many things wrong with that. It's like, yes, we're going to grow human meat. We're not going to even grow the animal meat anymore. We're going to make you eat human to humiliate you and make you pliant. I mean, it's
so
pretty sinister.
Vile.
And lots of bug places are opening up as well. There's a case of one that was going to make something like 7,000 tons of cricket meat in the UK.
And you also see a lot of celebrities jumping on the bandwagon to go and endorse this. You see all of a sudden a lot of celebrities who a few years ago, the only way that you would have seen them eating bugs would be if they were on I'm a Celebrity, all of a sudden put in these really awkward situations where they're just handed like, I don't know, a packet of crisps made from crushed up bugs, and they'll just go, oh, these are much better than I expected them to be. Oh, you really shouldn't be afraid of this.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it, that it's kind of being astroturfed. You get lots of puff pieces about so-and-so's been on this diet and they've been eating bugs. I mean, you see it all the time in things like the Daily Mail, which is supposedly right-wing, but working to the tune of the global elite, of course.
Some of it is right-wing, but then a lot of it is just a gossip mag as well.
It's disgusting, isn't it? So another thing which I'm sure isn't lost on anyone watching is that the global elite want to destroy the family unit, and we talk about this all the time.
I've already mentioned it.
You have indeed, yes. And all that is that they want to push people towards becoming isolated units that are easier to control. You don't have the support structure of a family. If you don't have other people to look out for, then you make a better consumer. If you're a parent, you're going to think about the needs of your children, therefore you're going to prioritise practical things. You're not going to buy the new Nintendo Switch and, all that infantilised nonsense.
If you're a literal cuckold soy boy,
yes,
then you'll be very eager for your wife's boyfriend to get you the latest Switch.
And perhaps contentious, perhaps not. It seems like there's a push amongst some elites, maybe not all of them.
This might be a bit of a division within them.
That they want to legalise being a nonce, basically. Obviously, we've got Epstein, Hollywood. I mean, the amount in which it was rife amongst those sorts of people, like it pervaded a very large section of the elites there. I mean, how can that not be representative of a wider issue? I mean, Epstein had billions of pounds that basically still is unexplained. From my mind, what he probably did was he had people come to his island. He had all of these rooms set up with secret hidden cameras. He made them have sex with children, or they probably willingly did it. He didn't make them.
I was going to say, I mean, I doubt with many of these people you'd need to ply them for it.
Yes, but he did that, recorded it, used it as blackmail, got a payout, and then that's that. Yeah, that's how I think he made his money, basically.
As far as I'm concerned with this, even though there may be a division of opinion within the elite regarding this, as far as I'm concerned, if you're in the elite spheres, noncery is basically legal de jure. And it's only those who go as far as to say we should make it legal de facto that go a bit too far in the eyes of these people, because those the massive circles, we still don't know who was in Epstein's black book. These people have no issue with this kind of behaviour and see nothing wrong in it.
I think it's more of a matter of optics for them.
Yes.
Like they know that they can get away with it, legal or not, but they want to wait for the right time to get it all above board so they don't have to hide anymore.
They need to massage public opinion to the point where we won't just start riots and overthrow them if we find out that they're all a bunch of nonces.
Yes.
And though, to be fair, we already know that probably the vast majority of them are, except people are too compliant to do anything about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've been put in such a situation where it's very difficult to actually get our own back on them, isn't it? Like, what can we really do?
And now the pubs over winter are probably going to be going down, so the sorts of environments that, say, the American Revolution or secession, as it would be more accurately described as, were planned out and fermented those ideas that got put forward, is going to slowly die out. You're not going to have that sort of environment for much longer for a lot of people.
No, and as a sort of case study into making this sort of thing more sanitized, I've got this Daily Mail article titled, "I regret both my marriages. Madonna throws shade at Sean Penn and Guy Ritchie, says her current obsession is sex, and reveals she would be a school teacher if she wasn't a singer."
Those are two worrying thoughts to have side by side.
Exactly, and the fact that they're put side by side, I don't think it is a mistake, is it? It's trying to soften the notion of these sorts of things, isn't it? And we know...
Being the Daily Mail, I would think the notion putting the two together might be to alarm the reader in a negative way. I wouldn't say that this article is likely to be supportive of the association.
Well, the article's not supportive, but it might be the fact that Madonna said this both at the same time in the same sitting, and she has been in the press long enough to know what she is doing, right?
If I could be made commissar of the media of the world, I would ban Madonna.
Yeah, I mean...
altogether, just ban her. You could put her in a rocket and fire her to the moon and she can live there.
In the words of Norm Macdonald, this just goes to show Madonna's a whore. So another thing they want to do is leave a legacy, because they haven't figured out immortality yet, although they would love that. Obviously, we've got cases of them basically having child's blood pumped into them to regenerate them, and that seems to work. So they are, as Connor's article on the website points out, Silicon Valley vampires.
Literally using young people's blood.
And there's something that you drew to my attention about
Was it me who drew it? Oh yeah, actually, I have heard of this before. Yeah, God, I wish I could go back to blissful ignorance at this point. So people like Sandra Bullock and Oprah have been using skincare cream that is made from human foreskins to preserve their youth. So here's an article from the Huffington Post. This is pretty gross.
It is gross, yes. I mean, not only is the mutilation of children horrific that this happens in the first place, but the fact that people are comfortable using a skincare product that contains that sort of thing is even weirder. So the Huffington Post reads, the Toronto Star reported Wednesday that the Canadian Foreskin Awareness Project, which I had no idea existed, a group that opposes circumcision, has beef with Oprah after she endorsed Skin Medica's TNS Recovery Complex, an anti-aging cream that contains cells derived from human foreskin. Activists picketed her stops in Ottawa and Montreal earlier this week and plan to protest in Hamilton on Saturday as well. Obviously, this is from a while ago now. But yes, it's a very real thing. I know it doesn't sound real, but yes, it's happening. The elites are using human body parts to preserve their youth, human blood. I mean, how much more vindication does Alex Jones really need at this point?
And this article as well is from 2013, so around the time where he was saying all of the things that made him so memeable. These articles were just going out there, basically going, by the way, Alex Jones was right, and here's why it's a good thing.
I know, it's horrifying, isn't it?
To watch the full video, please become a premium member at lotuseaters.com.